How's that? All right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Committee on Ordinance public hearing. Today, March 1st. Madam Clerk, you please call the roll.
Chairman Narducci,
Here.
Vice Chairwoman Castillo,
Present.
Councilwoman Harris is absent, Councilor Miller,
Present.
Councilman Espinal.
Present.
You have 4 present and 1 absent. You have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I'd like to have a motion to take item number 3 out of order.
So moved. Second.
Motion made by Councilman Castillo, seconded by Councilwoman Miller. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Item number 3 will be continued till further notice at this point in time.
No, item number 3 will be continued to the date specific of March 9th, 2020 at 5:00 PM, and we need a motion.
Okay, motion made?
Second.
Nope, you can't make the motion, sir.
No, I'm not making a motion. I'm asking for a motion to be
Okay.
made. Relax there, girl.
Gotcha.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilwoman Castillo, seconded by President Pro Tem Espinal. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Madam Clerk, would you please read item number 1 into the record?
Item number 1 is a petition from Catherine Dean and Randy White Jr. dated November 8th, 2021, requesting a zone change for the property located on Assessor's Plat 49, Lot 635, 472 Potters Avenue from R3 to C2. Mr. Chairman, you do have a letter from the CPC that needs to be entered into the record.
Can I have a motion to enter the letter from CBC as Exhibit A?
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Castillo, seconded by Pro Tem Espinal. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. At this time, I'd like to have Bob Azar come up, please.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Robert Azar. I am the Deputy Director of the Department of Planning and Development here on behalf of the City Plan Commission, which is required under state law to review all zoning changes. This petition would take the parcel at 472 Potters Avenue out of the 3-family zone and put it into the C2 commercial zone, which allows for commercial and residential uses. This building is a brick former industrial building. It is out of character with the R3 residential district. And our understanding is that the intention of the owners is to convert this building into a multifamily property, which would not be allowed in the R3 zone. There is a C2 zone in proximity along Elmwood Avenue, and we feel that that would be the appropriate zoning designation for this. The city's comprehensive plan has a future land use map that depicts this as an area where neighborhood commercial and medium density residential uses are located in proximity to each other. The City Plan Commission found that this change would be consistent with that future land use map and also with Objective H2, which encourages the development of housing. So with that, the commission voted to recommend to the City Council that this zoning change be approved.
Thank you, Bob.
Oh, can I have a
Madam
question?
Clerk, do we have?
Can I have a question?
Hang on. Is it Catherine Dean? You step up to the mic, please. Excuse me? Only one, right. Are you Randy White? Or you'll be next, Randy. Come right up here to the mic. Thank you. And if you would be kind enough to state your name. for
Yes,
the record.
I'm Catherine B. Dean of 49 Stansbury Street, Providence, Rhode Island, 02908. I'm well-trained.
Well, when you drop the mask, I recognize the face.
Yeah, we've met before, sir.
Mike's all yours.
Okay, you want to hear my,
Please.
okay. My business partner, Randy White, and I purchased the building, I believe, at the end of December in 2018. We had looked at it a couple of months prior, and even though it's in disrepair and it was filled from floor to ceiling with junk, I just fell in love with this building. It's built so well, and I said, we could do great things here. So we're in the process of planning and architects and all that stuff. And we had it surveyed. In fact, we purchased an extra lot that meets the back of the area that actually had a Melrose Street address because the building's on the corner of Potters and Melrose. We bought what I call extra size city lot, 50 by 100, which will be our green space. Where at this we added that to the address. And we have like an acre of land in the city of Providence, which is, so we have plenty of parking space. And now we'll have an extra area for the children and the families and whatnot to be outside in the air. The area's fenced. We won't have to worry about the kids running in the street and getting hurt and whatnot. We have the loveliest neighbors on the other side of Melrose Street because they've all passed on. We have a very large cemetery next to us. And it's almost like a park type environment. The city put in a speed bump on Potters Avenue, which will slow the traffic down. And we won't have to worry so much about, the children in the cars and whatnot. We'll have a healthy building. We will have a whole building water filter. We're going to be in the process soon of removing all the lead, flaking lead paint, all that type of environmental problems will all be rectified. We want to build community here. We want all different kinds of people, all different ages of people. We want children, we want elderly because they belong together, and we're looking at 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. We will be charging, we can't charge I think it's called the going rate because it's too high. So we're looking to reduce costs and keep the rent as low as possible. And we hope to have communication with our tenants in announcing programs in the area, announcing, for example, first Saturday of every month, Providence residents can go to the zoo for free. Get the families packed up and off to the zoo you go for free. Use what is out there and communicate availability of these things to our families. So I hope I've answered some questions, but if you have any more, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Councilman Castillo.
Thank you. So when you say, how many apartment you want to do in that property? Because I live close to this property.
The building is long and narrow. And that's going to be up to the architect more than us. We work as a team.
What you could do, Catherine, if you want to end, and Mr. White is due up next anyway, so
I
we
know.
can have him come up. So if you want to end with, and have Mr. White come up, then we can do it that way.
Okay,
Okay?
we'll trade off places.
Yeah.
He'll answer you. Okay.
Thank you, Catherine. We have Randy White. Is that junior or senior? Junior? All right, Randy, come up to the mic again. State your name for the record and your address, please.
My name is Randy White Jr. I live at 138 Lexington Avenue. I live 2 blocks away from the building. I've been living in the city of Rhode Island for about 15 years. Before that, I lived in Boston because I came from New York to go to school in Boston. But I'll give you a little bit of history about the building. I was going to buy it from Paul Calendar like 15 years ago, and I was unable to, so I found a partner, Kathy, so we bought it together. But to address your question, the building is close to 27,000 square feet, and we forecast between 45 and 50 apartment units consisting of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. So for close to 27,000 square feet, so pretty much 11 units on the first floor, second floor, third floor. Also, we did a geotechnical survey to make sure that the building can hold the 4th floor. So they came in to do to test the soil, because we were thinking about adding a 4th floor on top of the building, because we had the structural engineer did a assessment. Building structural components consist of brick, granite, timber, and we were just impressed with it, that it held up for so many years. As you know, presently it's an eyesore in the community, and we want to like revitalize the community because it's been in dilapidated condition for so many years that, hey, look, we got to do something with the building, because we worry about arson. When we took it over, there were people living in the building, and we had to be nice to them, but we had to get them out. But our plan, our intent is to rehab it so we can provide housing. As you know, this is a national crisis. Housing is a national crisis from California to the East Coast. And it's statistically, according to the HUD's numbers, there's a demand in Rhode Island, there's a demand in New York, because some of the landlords in New York City are not renewing their HUD lease, so they go in market rate. We want to provide healthy housing as well as healthy food. So, you know, that's one of our visions, to renew the community and to provide healthy housing, affordable housing for the demographic market. As Kathy was saying, there's no way people in that community, I mean, it's largely a immigrant, but diverse, but there's no way people can pay $2,000, $3,000 a month in rent. I was working in Boston, and people were paying $2,000 and $3,000 a month in rent. And in New York City, people were leaving New York City and going to New Jersey, and then from New Jersey, they're going to Pennsylvania because the rents are just skyrocketing. And this is a national crisis right now. I was driving to Home Depot and I saw some tents. You got people living in tents now, and this is unheard of in America. I mean, we need to provide housing for our people. You know, there's an issue in California with the homelessness, in North Carolina,
Seattle.
and Seattle, you know, and as you know, I think Amazon was planning to provide housing. That's what they said they were planning to do, but we don't know. But this is I think this would be a good project for the city.
What I would advise you, Catherine and Randy, what I would advise that you guys do is, before this comes to ordinance, is get in touch with Councilwoman Castillo, because she's got a few questions she's going to want answered before we hear it in ordinance. And technically, we're not supposed to ask any questions during a public hearing.
Well, this is interesting because I live at 138 Lexington Avenue. Like I said, I live 2 blocks away. She's my representative. I know you're very busy with your constituents, but I think I had came by when I got off work and I had left your secretary some messages in regard to Kathy and I meeting with you. But they said you were in a meeting or you were busy. And I think I did this on numerous occasions because I know in certain cities like Boston and New York, you want to touch base with your city representative, your council woman or councilman.
And I'm not gonna get
So-
into a
So
discussion.
we'll be happy to meet with her.
Moving forward, that'd be my
Sure.
advice to you, Mr. White.
Sure,
Okay, thank you very much for your
thank you,
testimony.
thank you. Gonna give us your business card or,
I give you when
Okay.
I get up.
all right, thank you.
Anyone else here like to speak on this particular matter? Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk, would you take these, please? And would you be kind enough to read item number 2 into the record?
Item number 2 is a petition from Dylan Conley Esquire on behalf of Sutton Place via Natalia Pizzuco and Nicholas Cardello, requesting a zone change for the property located on Assessors Plat 28, Lot 223, 54-56 Sutton Street, from R3 to C2. CPC letter and also some renderings to enter into the record.
Can I have a motion to make the CPC letter Exhibit A?
Oh.
Motion made by Councilman Costello, seconded by President Pro Tem Espinal. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Can I have a motion to enter the booklet we have here as Exhibit B? Motion made by President Pro Tem, seconded by Councilman Miller. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Mr. Azar.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. The City Plan Commission also reviewed this zoning change for 54 to 56 Sutton Street. This is a property currently in the residential 3-family zone. It's actually currently a mixed-use building. It has already 3 commercial units and 3 residential units in it. That would be non-conforming to the R3 zone. The applicants, the petitioners intend to renovate this building to create 7 apartments. So they would be removing the commercial uses and adding a net of 4 additional apartments here. So the request is to rezone this to C2, which would allow for multifamily housing. In the R3 zone, you can't have more than 3 units in any given piece of property. So this would allow for the 7 units. In addition to recommending that this be changed to C2, the commission requested that there be a restriction of the uses to 2-family, 3-family, and multifamily dwellings. That way, this property could only be used for residential uses. This is similar to what the council has approved for a handful of other properties along this corridor in proximity to Atwells Avenue. So the City Plan Commission made the recommendation to the council to approve this zoning change to C2 with the aforementioned condition restricting the uses to residential.
Thank you once again, Bobby. Madam Clerk. Thank you, Sarge. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Okay, first we're going to hear from Nicholas Cardello. Nick, if you will come up to the mic, state your name, your address, and your position for the record, please.
Thank you, council members. My name is Nicholas Cardello. My current address is 54 Sutton Street, Providence, Rhode Island. I'm the owner, co-owner of this property along with Natalia Pazuka.
Thank you. Go right ahead.
We purchased this property about 7 months ago from Antoinette Espinito, and she owned this property for about 20 years. We had the intent of converting this property to a 7-family dwelling due to the lack of housing in the area. I have lived in Providence since 2019. I also have a multifamily on Sutton Street. And when I got in there, I realized the sheer lack of housing in the area. I actually bought my home from another developer named David Corsetti, and he has a lot of homes in the area. And, you know, after my first purchase of the home, I realized that I wanted to get into this line of work, you know, repurposing, reusing, and reconfiguring homes to make them better for the area. I work downtown in downtown Providence, so this is my, you know, night job, if you will. And along with Natalia, we've put in a lot of hours into this property. It wasn't updated. It needed a lot of work, and you know, we've met with many contractors, and we have a lot of, you know, plans in mind for this. You know, making it safer for our tenants in terms of fire alarms and all of that. And we're requesting that the council change the zoning to C2 so we can have that be a 7-family home.
That it?
What's that?
You all said, Nick?
I'm all set.
Man, by the way, Mr. Corsetti's a good man. So he's done a project in my neighborhood at the Wanscombe Mills. Does a good work. If you're anything like him, it'll be a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. Corey Young. Is Corey here? Corey, again, I'm going to ask you to step up to the mic, state your name and your address for the record, please.
Name is Corey Young, 58 Sutton Street. I'm actually just here because I got the letter, and he actually answered a lot of my questions. I purchased my place from David Corsetti. I was just concerned when I saw commercial, and I mean, I've been in my condo for over 15 years, and I just didn't want to see it turn into another hookah bar. Yeah. If it's residential, I mean, how high are they going to build up? I'm not sure, you know.
And those questions can be answered in the ordinance committee meeting.
Yeah, residential, I have no problem with. I just want to make sure. I just was concerned, you know, as a taxpayer and parent. That's it.
You got it. Thank you.
And Mr. Young, there are some extra renderings on that table right there of the project that I left out, if you'd like to look at them.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is it Tyler Reeve? Did I say that right? Sorry? Okay. If you could please state your name and your address for the record, please, Tyler.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tyler Ryan, 58 Sutton Street in Providence. I was similar to Corey. I live below him. I just found out about this at the end of last week, so I was curious to understand more. And it sounds like we could get answers to some other questions about the actual development plans. But I'm happy to see a commercial actual business is not in the cards, because that would dynamically change the neighborhood, I believe. I do understand the need to address housing, as others have stated today. So all in all, I'm for it. I'm just curious to understand more. So if I could just, sounds like Corey has the information on how to get more details on that later, so I can check in with him. But thank you.
And again, there's also a packet there that you could also take for yourself too.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
John Heaney. And John, I'm just going to ask you also to step up to the mic, state your name and address for the record, please.
Sutton Street property, I'm sorry, Bin Street property. I actually went to the audio, listened, that date about that property. So Councilwoman Rachel Miller here actually asked the same question. Why is this not an R designation? Kind of a stopgap measure. Should actually be some new residential designation someday that would address these issues where just residential, but we can't pigeonhole it into one of these residential designations. And that's fine. I don't have an issue with the use of this property. Totally for it. My concern is specifically with the designation being commercial, because I'm not sure that there aren't unintended consequences here, and that's what I want to address. So, my understanding is that one of the side effects of a zoning designation, that it impacts the sound ordinances. So, look at the sound ordinances, it's the designation of the zoning that is keyed on the table that determines the decibel level and the time limit on that decibel limit. So when you change it from residential to commercial, it becomes less restrictive on other properties making noise. So this particular property actually abuts two bars. They're listed as restaurants, but restaurant bars. They're open until 2 a.m. They have 2 a.m. liquor licenses, and they advertise themselves as being open until 2 a.m. The one in particular, which is the main abutter, is South Beach on Atwells Avenue. South Beach has had ongoing problems with sound issues. On November 13th of 2019, there was a 2 a.m. liquor license renewal where they were required to hear because of complaints by the neighbors. They were objecting to the 2 a.m. license. 7 neighbors submitted letters of objection to that license renewal because of sound problems and other nuisances with the establishment. Now, the South Beach lawyer argued that the Board of License could not regulate their sound because they didn't have an entertainment license. They were just a restaurant.
I don't want to sound cruel, but can we stay on this particular piece of property?
This actually is directly related to the zoning of this piece of property. So if you could just hang with me for just another minute, I will make that connection.
I'll give you one.
I'm sorry?
I'll grant you another minute.
Thank you. So basically, there is an abutting neighbor that is already a problem with respect to sound, right? They play loud music late at night. Now, the sound standards, the way they are structured in Section 1693, establishes decibel and time limits based on the zoning of the receiving property. So South Beach is the source of the sound, and they are in a they are commercially zoned, obviously. This property is right next door. They're within the 200-foot radius because they abut the property, but they're currently zoned residential, R3. So therefore, the sound standards that apply is a maximum of 65 decibels up until 10 o'clock at night. If the designation changes to commercial, though, the decibel limit goes to 75 decibels up until 2 a.m. Now, my concern is that in changing this designation,
the very tenants of this property are going to have their rights to complain about their neighbor removed. They will no longer be able to complain if their neighbor is playing music too loud between 10 and 2. So this is a big problem. And this owner already knows that South Beach is a problem. They already talked about it. So that's the issue that I think needs to be addressed. And I think I would wonder, I have a couple of suggestions. One, could this, whatever issues are that are restricting this from being, say, an R4 or some other R designation, is it something that could be handled by a zoning variance instead of changing the zoning designation? And then it wouldn't have to change. The other thing is, obviously, we need to create a new residential designation to cover these cases, which is what the representative from the CPC here was actually saying a year ago. But that hasn't happened yet, apparently. And I would suggest that when that new R designation is created, it should automatically be retrofitted to all of these cases over the past few years where the zoning has been changed to commercial but restricted to residential use. That was the only reason why those designations were made, was as a stopgap measure. Another possibility is maybe there could be a change to the table in section 1693C so that the entry for residential actually says residential or commercial with a residential restriction. That way it would be clear that the sound standards still apply for these residents. And finally, maybe there could be a stipulation associated with this petition that that this change of zone is only applicable to the use and doesn't affect any other applications vis-a-vis any other ordinances in the municipal ordinances that apply to, such as the sound standards or any other ordinances that I am not aware of. Because really, this is only a stopgap measure specifically so that they can use this for rentals. And everybody supports that. I just don't want these people to lose their rights as a result of the zoning change. That's my only concern. Thank you.
You have to be signed in. Do you want to sign in? Oh, okay. Come up here to the mic, please. State your name and your position for the record and your address, please.
Dione Garcia, an attorney with William Connolly's office. We are representing the petitioners in this
Okay.
matter. Your Honor, just to address that last concern, we are not concerned about that issue. There's certainly going to be an ongoing relationship with, I believe, the direct neighbors, which is I believe, a bar. But that's something that we'll deal with as it comes along. At this point, we're just trying to make the property legal to expand on the residential units. It's not displacing commercial units. It hasn't been used for commercial purposes in many years. And so this would be in line with the best use of this property at this time. And so if there are any questions or concerns, hopefully I could address them today, but I believe planning made a pretty good presentation as to why this petition merits being granted.
And I think obviously we can get into more detail when it comes before the committee too also. Not testimony, but as far as what they're looking to do. Bob, do you have any follow-up? Thank you.
Thank you.
Actually, the speaker raised a couple of good points, and he is right that with respect to these zoning changes, this is not the perfect way to enact a zoning change to allow for multifamily development. And the reason why is that we do have a multifamily zone that we call R4, but it has restrictions currently about the amount of land area that you need for every dwelling unit. It doesn't allow for the kind of density that you might see in a building like this. So if we were to change the zoning to R4, they wouldn't be able to get 7 units in this building, even though it's a sizable building that has ample square footage for that number of units. C2, on the other hand, doesn't have those sorts of density restrictions. So it's much more flexible when it comes to a zoning change for multifamily. And so the Zoning Enabling Act does allow you to put these conditions on zoning to make sure that we don't have the commercial uses kind of creeping off of Atwell's Avenue, but it nevertheless allows for the residential uses. So it is a technique that we have used on a number of occasions. It's perfectly legitimate. It's something that the Zoning Enabling Act does. It does contemplate that you would have this available. We do think that down the line we need to refine the rules for the R4 zone so that you can do this. Now, the other issue that came up about noise, that's actually something that hadn't occurred to me, but I did look up in the Code of Ordinances. I think he raises the concern on behalf of the people who would occupy this building, because the noise limits change when it's talking about not the property that's emanating the noise, but the property that's receiving the noise. So he wasn't necessarily talking about properties in the adjacent residential zones. It was more about the people in this building that might be legally subject to louder noise. I appreciate that he raises that concern. I would suggest that would be something for the owner of the property to take up with his tenant. But yeah, I don't know what to say other than that. It is a good point. Given that it is adjacent to Atwell's Avenue, it's not trivial because there are some uses on Atwell's Avenue that are causing noise. I will say that those limits, regardless of those limits, there are other safeguards that speak to noise within a certain number of feet or at the property line of a building that I think are probably just as enforceable and might add additional protections for that particular building.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else here to speak on this particular matter? Hearing none at this time, if there's no further business before this body, can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion made by Councilman Castillo, seconded by President Pro Tem Espinal. All in favor? Opposed? Ayes have it. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.